Texas versus Texas A&M, the preview video sponsored by the I-80 Boys College Football Podcast, by the way. Chris, I'll start us off here looking at the Texas Longhorns coming into this one. This game decides who's going to represent the other side of that's not now the Western Conference, whatever. There's no divisions in the SEC anymore for most college football. Anyways, this is going to determine who else is going to go play in the SEC championship game. We'll put it that way. Chris, Texas, did you know, currently ranks number 2 in total defense. They rank 2nd in the country in total defense right now. Very surprising. This has not been, to me, this has not been the Texas of late. You know, they've obviously come over to the SEC. I know the gripe, I'm not saying this, but some people in the country are saying, who have they played? And I want to, you know, if you're watching this right now and you are taking offense to that, I mean, I want you to seriously, outside of Georgia, which what happened there, tell us, what is Texas's best win up until this point? What do you think Texas's best win is up until this point? I think we're all curious over here. Getting back to that, Texas has played really good on defense, which I think has been the biggest knock on them for years. Their defense just hasn't been good enough to hold up and kind of get them over the hump. I think this year, obviously, their defense is pretty good. I think they've taken steps forward. They've shown they can actually play defense when it kind of matters. We'll kind of see when they start playing some, in the playoffs and against Georgia again, have they made the necessary steps to kind of move forward here, assuming they win this game. And they can make it, obviously, to the SEC championship game. I think they're a lock for the playoffs. How they match up against A&M, though. This is a classic rivalry. I mean, they're restoring this thing. Some thought we'd never see it restored like it was. My big question in this one, Quinn Ewers. He kind of limped off last week, returned, was able to play. I don't want to say he's had a bad year by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, he's been hurt. But with Quinn Ewers, a lot of people thought, hey, he could be a first-round draft pick. He could potentially be a Heisman Trophy quarterback. He could potentially be whatever you want him to be. He hasn't really lived up to that, I don't think, at Texas. And now there's a lot of people clamoring for Arch, you know what I mean, to kind of get his shot. Maybe not right now, but going forward, they want to see Arch Manning a little more. With me, Quinn Ewers, what are you going to get in this game? Can he stay healthy? Doesn't really turn the ball over that much, but can he stay healthy? Can he do enough to win this game against a very tough A&M team on the road? That's going to be the biggest thing we're looking for there. In the running department, I mean, they kind of spread it around. They've got Wisner. They got a couple of different people there. I know coming into this year, they lost a bunch of their running backs coming into the season. They've been banged up at certain positions. I think that's kind of been the big thing on offense for Texas this year is they've been banged up. They've had a lot of guys that have been hurt, in that offensive side of things. Can they hold up going against Texas A&M? That's going to be the big question coming into this one. I think maybe they can. Defensively, again, we know A&M has kind of, and Chris will touch on this here in a minute, A&M has kind of shuffled through quarterbacks this year, tried to figure out what the right recipe is there. Can Texas put pressure on A&M and force them to throw the football to beat them? That's the big question I have coming into this one. Chris, tell me about Texas A&M.
Yeah, we know Texas A&M, they're 8-3. The 3 losses, the one came early in the year to Notre Dame. It was first game of the season, kind of forgotten about by now. South Carolina obviously was a loss there. South Carolina's actually been a pretty decent team this year. And then obviously last week, I think it was kind of a shock to most of the country. 4 overtime game, by the way, Christian, to Auburn. They lost that game to lowly Auburn. Now, offensively, let's talk about it. I'll get in some stats here. A&M's averaging 32.5 points per game. It's pretty damn good. They're 36th in the country, 44th in total offense, 17th in rushing offense, and then 86th in passing offense. You talked about it. They've been back and forth with the Connor Weigman, Marcel Reed thing. Now, Marcel Reed has kind of taken the job over, which I think was a smart move on Elko's part. He's a little bit of a different dynamic, kick and run. I actually kind of reminds me of Jalen Milroe in a way. He's not an elite level passer yet. This kid is only a freshman, but very elusive, can make plays with his legs. Last week against Auburn, by the way, he was 22 of 35, 297 yards and 3 touchdowns to 1 interception throwing the ball. That was the best I've seen him throw the ball. Now, like I said, what separates him from Weigman is the legs, the part on the ground. Now, the running back situation kind of sucks for A&M. We talked about him a couple different times this year. Le'Veon Moss, he's done for the season. Obviously, he's been out for a couple weeks. He's done. But Amari Daniels, he stepped in. He's done a pretty damn good job so far filling in for Moss. And then obviously combined with Reed's ability to run the ball, A&M, like I said, they're 17th in the country in rushing. They do pound the rock. That's typical Mike Elko team there, though, for you. And it's been paying off. Now, wide receiver Noah Thomas, Jabri Barber, and Jaheed Walker round out the passing threats for A&M. Thomas is their big home run threat. He had a 73-yard touchdown catch against Auburn. That was pretty electric in that game. So, like I said, A&M, can they establish the pass a little bit in this game? Like you said, can Texas, make them one-dimensional? We'll see. But yeah, like I said, I think this is going to come down to Reed offensively making the right play. Can they run that zone read, and can they establish the run against Texas? And you said it, Texas's run defense is freaking elite. Defense overall has been elite. So on the defensive side of the ball, it's Mike Elko. We know he puts the good defenses out there. I'm a little shocked by the numbers here, and I'll break them down. A&M defensively gives up 21.1 points per game. That's 38th best in the country. Now, they're 56 in total defense, 41st in rushing defense, but they're 81st against the pass. So they do struggle a little bit against the pass. Yeah, with that being said, they struggled against Auburn defensively in that game. And that kind of shocked me a little bit. We laugh at Auburn a lot on this channel just with the whole Peyton Thorne experience. But, Auburn put up 40 in that game. Now, I know I'm not going to get into the overtime rules and how all that works and all the points that were scored there. But like I said, I kind of think in a way A&M was kind of looking forward here, Christian, to the Texas game. That's kind of why I think they dropped that game. I'm not trying to make excuses. But that shit does happen in college football. So if A&M, though, wants to win this game, they are going to have to get to Quinn Ewers. You said it. I expect All-American Nick Skirton to have a big game here. He's going to be a first-round draft pick here in this year's draft. He's going to have to get to the quarterback. As far as my prediction goes here, Christian, I want to add this, by the way. I can't tell you how pumped I am to see this rivalry back, by the way. It's been since 2011. I watched this rivalry when Nebraska was in the Big 12 forever. This Texas A&M rivalry was awesome back then. There's a lot on the line on this one. Winner goes to the SEC title game, like you mentioned, to go play your Dogs. So this is going to be a barn burner, man. I'm pumped for this one. I have no skin in the game. Don't care who wins. But as far as my pick goes here, Christian, give me Texas 27, Texas A&M 21.
Yeah, Chris, I've got Texas 31, Texas A&M 24.